Let me tell you, I have had a craving lately for quiche. Today I'm going to satisfy that with Quiche Lorraine. The first thing to do when making your Quiche Lorraine is to begin by preparing your pie crust. I have just a regular pie plate. I don't want it to stick, so I'm going to spray it with just some vegetable spray. Get a nice spray all over it. I'm doing it the lazy way and using store-bought pie crust that I've had sitting out for a bit. Open up the pie crust very gently and carefully. Roll it out. Might help if I just do it this way. Oop. Okay. All right, the pie crust does not want to work with me today. I've had it sitting out, so I'm not sure why it's being unreasonable, but it is. But you know what? We're gonna roll with it. Once you get it rolled out, pop it into your pie plate, and if it did come apart like mine, as you're putting it in the plate, just stick it back together. Okay, see how I did that? Okay, here's a spot right here. And I'm just going to mash it back together because it's dough. You can do that. All right, now just keep on putting it in the plate. Press it down so that you don't have air bubbles underneath. And then if it's sticking up here at the top, maybe crimp it, make it look pretty. I'm not good with this kind of thing, but I love quiche and I love pies, so I figure it's the taste that matters, and so I just deal with it. So here we go. I've got all the holes that I pulled in the dough trying to roll it out. I've got those all filled back in. Now that I've made the holes whole again, and now that I've filled them in, I'm going to take a fork and guess what? I'm going to poke holes all in the bottom of the crust. And you know, there's no particular way that you have to do this. There's no specific number of holes. There's nothing magical about it. You just want to poke some holes in it and pre-bake it so that it's not soggy. The holes help to let steam out so that it doesn't bubble up underneath and make air bubbles. And my mom always pricked around the edge, so I'm doing that too. Just because she did. Yeah, sometimes when you grow up cooking in the kitchen with your mom, you don't always know why you're doing something. You just do it because mom did. And that's me today. So she always did that around the edge, so I'm doing that around the edge. And if that's not enough holes in the bottom of this pie crust, not my fault. Okay, I've had my oven preheating at 425. It's at temperature, so I'm going to put this in the oven and let it bake for 10 minutes. Timer set for 10 minutes. Let's move on to preparing the filling for the quiche. Let's start with the onion. Okay. Slice off the ends. I have my bag over here that I always throw things into when I'm working in the kitchen. So I'm going to start with half an onion, and then if I don't think that's going to be enough, I'll go ahead and chop the other half. So I'm not chopping, I'm just making nice thin slices, and then I'm going to cook these later. So let's just start with these nice slices of onion. I definitely think I need more. So let's go ahead and slice this other one. So that is one medium yellow onion sliced very thin. And don't worry about, separating the onion while you're slicing it or throwing it in the bowl. It's going to come apart when you cook it. So that's not something that you need to worry about, concern yourself with. All right. Just be very, very careful when using your knife, especially at the end there. Okay, so there's the onion. Just going to sit it aside, let it wait. Next, bacon, my favorite part of Quiche Lorraine. I've got 9 in my bacon keeper, so today we're going to put in 9 pieces of bacon. I'm going to cut these in 1-inch pieces before I cook it, so that later I don't have to worry about crumbling it up and dealing with that. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it so that it's already crumbled up for us. So 9 pieces of bacon cut in 1-inch slices. Next, let's cook the bacon. Got my frying pan, got it turned on sort of a medium-high heat, and I always like to give my bacon somewhere to go. If you start it on especially a stainless steel pan without any oil in there, it is going to stick. So I always spray in some oil just to keep it from sticking, and I start warming this up. Once it's warm, I'll add the bacon. There's the timer. The pie crust should be starting to brown. It should be partially cooked and ready to come out of the oven. So let's get that, and then we'll start the bacon. Okay, it's lightly browned. It shrank in the oven, but you know what? We're not going to let that bother us. It's about half cooked. It did bubble up a little bit, but that's going to go down while it cools. So here it is off to the side. We're just going to leave it alone and let it do its thing while we cook the bacon. Throwing all of the bacon into the pan. And I'm breaking it apart as it's cooking so that it's all cooked. You don't want any half-cooked pieces of bacon in here. I forgot to tell you, once you take the pie crust out of the oven, you need to turn it down to 325 for cooking your quiche. Once you get the bacon all broken apart like this, you can just let it sit and cook, stir it every now and then so that everything gets browned and cooked evenly. And once it's finished, then we'll put it out into a shallow bowl that I've lined with some paper toweling. We'll stir, and I'm just going to let this cook until it's done. So while the bacon's cooking, I have 4 ounces of Swiss cheese, and I'm just going to use the large holes. I'm going to grate this until it's all gone. It'll make a cup of cheese. A lot of recipes will tell you to put your cheese into a bowl, add a tablespoon or so of flour or cornstarch to coat the cheese before you mix it into your eggs and everything else. I don't do that, and I'll show you why when I get started putting this together. All right, so there's our cheese. And again, I'm just going to put it to the side. It'll be here waiting when we put everything together. That's cooking. Let's get the eggs together. Going to put the eggs in this nice big bowl, and I'm going to use 5 eggs, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So to the eggs, I'm going to add a cup of milk. Here's the milk. All right, this bacon looks done. So going to pause on the eggs and milk and go ahead and get the bacon out of here. Okay, there's the bacon. Going to let it sit there and drain and cool. This is entirely too much oil for cooking the onions in, so I'm going to get rid of all but about a tablespoon or 2 of the oil, and then we'll start the onions cooking while we're mixing the eggs. I've got a little bit of oil left in there. If it looks like I need anything else, I will add some butter to it. The main thing is cooking it in here with all those little bits of bacon that's stuck in the bottom, a little bit of the oil. And you can always add butter to it. That'll add some flavor later. And I'm going to let these cook down and brown and almost caramelize before I take them out. So there's that. But so there's the onions, got those cooking. Now, the onions are getting nice and brown, getting some good color. They're cooking down. Keep this going on about medium heat and let them cook. It's probably going to take about 10 minutes for them to get to the point that I want them, and that's okay. All right, so just let those cook. Over here, I have my eggs, have my milk, a little bit of salt. I don't have any white pepper, so I've got my black pepper in my grinder, and nutmeg. So I'm going to put all of this together. First thing, I'm going to lightly beat the eggs. I know a lot of recipes call for less egg and more milk. I prefer more egg to milk, so that's going to be the main difference in my Quiche Lorraine to a lot of others. So there's 5 eggs. Here's a cup of milk. Pour that in. And I don't measure this. I just shake a little bit of salt. Not a lot, because your bacon is going to be salty, your cheese is going to be salty, and your onions are going to be salty because they're cooked in the bacon grease. So just a tiny bit of salt. I probably put less than 1/4 teaspoon. I mean, it was just a little, just a couple of shakes. Going to do the same thing with the pepper. I'm just going to a few little grinds, not much, and the same with the nutmeg. Nutmeg is a nice strong spice, so you want it in there, you just don't want too much in there. So here we go, just a nice little, that was about a shake and a half. So mix that up. And if you just have to have a measurement, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon of the nutmeg. It's, again, it's like when you put it in pasta, you want the hint, you want it to be there, but you don't want it to be strong. It's that lovely little thing in the background that elevates the flavor without announcing itself. Okay, keep going with the onions. They're getting a really lovely color, looking so great. Don't get too impatient with your onions and take them out before they have cooked sufficiently in the frying pan for a couple of reasons. One, you don't want crunchy onions in your quiche, and two, you're going to miss out on a lot of flavor if you do that. So keep going. Keep cooking. Get them spread out in a nice thin layer all over the bottom of your pan, and just let it cook. And I'm going to call this done because it's starting to burn a little bit and I don't want to burn my onions. So I don't mix everything together like in the bowl and then pour it in. I make layers in here, and then I pour the egg mixture over it all. I'm going to start with the onions on the bottom. And this is another reason why I drain the bacon really well, because I don't drain the onions. So here's the onion, and I spread it nice and evenly across the bottom. And then I'm going to make a little sandwich here. Onion first, and then I like to add the cheese. So a nice little layer of the cheese. And this probably would have been better in a deep dish, but my deep dish is busy right now, so I had to use this make this in a regular pie dish. So there we are. Going to hope it doesn't overflow, and I'm just going to grin and bear it on the fact that my pie crust shrank when it cooked. You know what? Things happen. It's still going to taste good. Now, the bacon over the top of that, and spread it nice and evenly. Okay. Oh man, doesn't that look fabulous? And I hope I don't have too much egg and milk here. All right, just going to pour it in very slowly and carefully, because I don't want it to spill, don't want it to splash, don't want it to run over. All right, and there it all is. Now I'm going to very, very carefully move this into the oven, and I will check it in about 35 minutes to see if the egg has cooked completely. It's set and it's nice and brown, pretty on top. Yeah, really everything else in here is cooked. The pie crust was about halfway done, so I want to make sure that my crust gets completely cooked and that my egg cooks. So that's what we're doing. Okay, nice and careful, nice and easy, trying not to spill. Just in case it overflows, I'm going to put a pizza pan on the rack underneath to catch, so that I don't have a mess in the bottom of my stove. So, and this goes now. I'm going to cook at 325 for about 35 minutes and check and see if it's done. If it is, it'll come out and cool. If not, then we'll let it keep going. My oven did not cool all the way down to 325. It's been cooking at 350. So it's been going at 350 for 45 minutes and is not done yet. Okay, it's been another 10 minutes. I think we have a quiche. Looks fantastic. Need to let it cool for about 5 to 10 minutes before we cut into it. Okay, the 10 minutes is up. You can see that the quiche has settled down a little bit. I'm going to cut into it now, and let's see what happens, y'all. Okay, let's find a spot that doesn't have bacon right at the very edge. Okay, all right. Make sure I get the crust cut. All right. Can't wait to get this out of here. All right. Look how beautiful that is. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Let's give this a try. Got that tip. You can see all the bacon. You see the onion pieces in there. It's bacony. It's oniony. It's a little cheesy. Probably wouldn't hurt to have a little bit more salt. I'm fine with it the way it is, but if you are like most people, you like it a little bit saltier than I do. I'm just sort of accustomed to eating a little bit lower sodium, so I'm perfectly happy with this, but other people may want to add some salt. The only thing I would do differently is I would add more cheese, but it's really delicious the way it is. Full recipe, tips, tricks, everything you wanted to know, and then some will be in the description box below. Please check that out. I also have links to my social media for Facebook and Instagram. I'd love to have you follow me there. And if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure and give it a big thumbs up. If you've not already, please do subscribe. It does help my channel to grow. And make sure you hit that notification bell so that you find out every time I upload a new video to YouTube. Thanks for watching. God bless.